Which of these 15 cents pulled more deer on camera in a single week than a $16 bottle of commercial attractant did in a month? Because I tested all 15 alongside commercial products over 2 seasons, and the results split cleanly into 3 categories. Scents that triggered curiosity investigation, where the deer paused and approached to identify something unfamiliar. Scents that triggered food recognition, where the deer smelled something it associated with a known food source and moved toward it. And scents that triggered territorial response, where the deer smelled compounds associated with its own habitat and treated the area as safe rather than threatening. Understanding which category a scent falls into changes how you use it, where you place it, and when in the season it works best. Most hunting videos give you a list of ingredients and tell you to pour them in the woods. I am going to tell you the specific chemical compound in each scent that the deer is actually responding to, because once you understand the compound, you can predict which scents will work on your property before you waste a weekend testing them. If you have run any of these scents on camera, I want to hear which ones pulled and which ones failed. Stay until the end because scent number 15 is the one that produced the strongest territorial response on my cameras, and the compound responsible is the same one found in the bark of almost every tree on your property right now. Before I start the list, I need to address something the title implies that is not entirely accurate. The title says scents bucks love. Bucks do not love scents the way they respond to doe estrus during the rut. That is a hormonal response. What these 15 scents do is trigger one of the 3 behavioral responses I just described: curiosity, food recognition, or territorial comfort, and each response puts the deer in a position where it is standing still, head up, trying to process what it smells. That window of attention is what you are hunting. A deer standing still at 20 yards for 10 seconds because it is investigating a scent is a deer you can shoot. I am also going to be upfront that most of these are legal in all states because they are non-food scent applications. A few involve edible material that may cross the baiting line in some states. I will flag those. Check your regulations. Number 1. Fermented acorn liquid. The compound is acetic acid combined with ethanol and volatile esters produced during natural yeast fermentation of the starches in white oak acorns. Crush acorns, cover with water in a sealed bucket for 3 weeks, and the resulting liquid is a concentrated cocktail of volatile organic compounds that carries on thermals 50 to 80 yards downwind, roughly the distance from home plate to the outfield wall. Deer investigated as a food-adjacent signal because acorns are a primary fall food. Source in the fermentation smell says acorns are here and breaking down. On my eastern Kentucky property, that steep hardwood hollow country along the North Fork of the Kentucky River, where the ridges are narrow and the deer travel the benches between the creek bottoms and the ridge tops, fermented acorn liquid on a stump pulled 11 deer investigations on camera over 2 weeks compared to 3 on a clean stump on the same corridor. Not food placement because the deer cannot eat the liquid. Legal in every state I am aware of. Number 2. Apple cider vinegar. The compound is acetic acid at roughly 5 to 7% concentration, which is the same primary volatile in fermented acorns but in a more concentrated store-bought form. 2 tablespoons on a cotton wick hung at 4 feet off the ground, chest height on a whitetail, produces a sharp scent plume that deer investigate out of curiosity. Acetic acid does not smell like food to a deer. It smells like fermentation, which is a process the deer encounters naturally every fall when apples, persimmons, and acorns decompose on the ground. The deer approaches to identify the source because fermentation means food is nearby even if the vinegar itself is not food. A $3 bottle from any grocery store provides roughly 30 applications. I should address something about apple cider vinegar that trips people up. Use the raw, unfiltered kind with the cloudy sediment at the bottom, not the clear filtered grocery store version. The raw version contains active bacterial cultures and additional volatile compounds from the fermentation process that the filtered version has been stripped of. The smell is noticeably stronger and more complex, which means more volatile compounds in the scent plume reaching the deer. A buddy who guides in eastern Kentucky, that steep hardwood hollow country along the North Fork where the ridges are narrow and every creek bottom is a travel corridor, tested filtered versus raw ACV on side-by-side wicks and told me the raw version pulled roughly twice the investigation rate. His test, not mine, but the logic tracks. More volatile compounds means a richer scent signal. Number 3, anise oil. The compound is transanethol, a sweet aromatic molecule that does not exist in any natural North American whitetail habitat. 3 to 5 drops on a cotton wick or a felt strip produces a novelty scent that roughly 6 out of 10 deer investigate on camera based on my testing. Across 3 properties, the investigation response to anahole is pure curiosity. The deer has never smelled it. It does not register as food or threat. The deer approaches cautiously, head up, testing the air, trying to categorize what it found. That categorization takes 30 to 60 seconds. Anise oil at $5 for a bottle that lasts a full season is the cheapest curiosity scent I have tested. I prefer it over vanilla extract and over licorice root because the anahole disperses better in cold air than vanillin and releases faster than dried root material. Number 4, blackstrap molasses. The compounds are melanoidins and volatile sugar derivatives, specifically furfuryl and hydroxymethylfurfuryl, produced during the sugarcane processing that creates molasses. A tablespoon on a cotton wick or mixed into scrape dirt produces a sweet, heavy scent that deer associate with natural sugar sources like fermenting fruit. Molasses works as a food recognition scent because the volatile profile overlaps with compounds found in decomposing apples and persimmons. Early fall, when fermenting fruit is already in the air, is when molasses performs best because the deer are already primed to investigate sugar-based volatiles. Late season, when natural sugars have frozen and disappeared, molasses scent stands out as unusual and the response shifts from food recognition to curiosity. A 4-little bottle lasts an entire season. Number 5, hickory smoke. The compounds are guaiacol and syringol, which are phenolic compounds produced when lignin in hickory wood breaks down during combustion. You do not need to burn hickory in the field. A small piece of hickory charcoal from a previous campfire, crushed and placed in a mesh bag near your stand, releases these compounds slowly over days. Deer on properties with a history of prescribed burns or campfire activity do not react to smoke-related compounds as threats. They react to them as background scent. On properties where fire is common, hickory smoke compounds create a comfort scent that makes the stand area feel familiar. On properties where fire is rare, the smoke compounds trigger curiosity. Quick pause here. Everything I just walked through and 100 more tricks like it is sitting inside the Buck Hunter's Bible, 2026 edition. 280 pages of the stuff that actually puts deer on the ground. And right now, if you grab it, I am throwing in the 30-day opening day roadmap completely free. That is a 60-page day-by-day preseason plan that walks you from the first scout to opening morning, so you start this season ahead of every other hunter in the woods. Link in the description, QR code on screen. This is the season you stop guessing. Number 6, cedar oil. The compound is cedrol, a sesquiterpene alcohol found in the heartwood of eastern red cedar. Deer bed in and around cedar thickets because the terpene profile of cedar is deeply embedded in their habitat experience as a safe, non-threatening background scent. A few drops of cedar essential oil at $5 a bottle on cotton balls placed around your stand at ground level creates an olfactory environment that reads as cedar thicket to approaching deer, which reduces their alertness as they pass through your shooting lane. This is not attraction. This is territorial comfort. The deer does not come to the cedar scent. The deer does not flinch from the cedar scent. It passes through the area with a lower threat response because the smell matches safe habitat. On my Nebraska Sandhills lease, that rolling grass and river bottom country along the middle loop where the cedar grows and draws between the grass hills and the deer bed in the cedar during winter, cotton balls with cedar oil around the base of my stand reduced the number of does that blew at my tree from roughly 3 per 10. Sits to about 1 per 10 sits over a season. Small sample, but the direction was consistent enough that I kept doing it. Number 7, clover extract. The compound is coumarin, a naturally occurring benzopyrone that gives fresh-cut clover its distinctive sweet smell. Crush a handful of white clover flowers and leaves with a splash of water to release the coumarin and smear the paste on a stump near a travel corridor. Deer associate coumarin with high-protein forage, roughly 18 to 25% crude protein compared to 7 to 9% in mature first browse, and investigate the scent to find the food source. This is a food recognition scent that works best in early fall when clover is still actively growing and the deer are already eating it on your property. In late season after the clover has died back, the scent stands out as unusual and the response weakens because the deer knows clover is not available in January. Timing matters with food recognition scents. Number 8, ginger root powder. The compound is gingerol, a pungent phenolic compound that produces the sharp bite in fresh ginger. A teaspoon sprinkled on a cotton rag and tied to a branch at 4 feet off the ground produces a novelty scent that deer investigate cautiously. Gingerol is completely foreign to the whitetail woods. The deer has zero context for it. That unfamiliarity triggers the same curiosity response as anise oil. I tested ginger alongside anise on the same corridor and the anise pulled slightly more investigations, roughly 6 out of 10 versus 5 out of 10 on my cameras. Not a dramatic difference, but I give the edge to anise because the anahole disperses further in still air than gingerol does. Ginger works. Anise works slightly better. Both cost under $5 for a full season. I want to explain why I keep ranking these curiosity scents against each other. Because it matters for your wallet and your time. You do not need all 15 scents on this list. You need 2 or 3 that work on your specific ground. If you hunt hardwoods in the Midwest or Southeast, fermented acorn liquid and anise oil cover both the food recognition and curiosity categories. If you hunt pine country in the South or Northeast, add cedar or pine oil for the territorial comfort layer. 3 scents covering all 3 response categories is the system. More than that is just spending money for the sake of trying things. My standard kit for every sit is anise oil on a wick for curiosity, fermented acorn liquid on a stump for food recognition, and cedar oil on cotton balls around the stand base for comfort. 3 products, under $15 total for a full season. The commercial equivalent, a curiosity scent at $12, an attractant at $18, and a cover scent system at $50 to $300, runs $80 to $330 for the same 3 categories. Number 9. Raw honey. The compounds are volatile sugars and trace amounts of hydroxymethylfurfural, the same compound found in molasses. A dime-sized dab of raw honey mixed with an equal amount of beeswax, melted together and cooled into a paste, produces a slow-release sweet scent that lasts roughly 2 weeks when packed into bark crevices on a stump. The beeswax carrier prevents rain from washing the honey away the way a straight honey application disappears after the first storm. Food recognition scent. Works best in September and October when fermenting fruit is in the air. Drops off in cold weather because the volatile release slows. Check your state regulations because placing honey could be classified as bait-in. States with strict definitions even though no deer is eating a dime-sized dab of wax-bound honey off a tree trunk. Number 10. Licorice root powder. The compound is glycyrrhizin, which is 30 to 50 times sweeter than sucrose and produces a lingering sweet aromatic signal. Sprinkled on scraped dirt or on a cotton rag. Works the same curiosity pathway as anise because both produce sweet aromatic compounds foreign to the woods. I rank licorice root below anise oil because the powder does not disperse as well in cold air and requires moisture to activate the glycyrrhizin release. On damp mornings after rain, licorice root performs well. On dry, cold mornings, the scent output is minimal. Look, I am going to be straight with you. Everything I am walking through in this video is just a small piece of what is inside the Buck Hunter's Bible. 2026 edition, 280 pages, 1 field-tested tricks. And right now, you also get the 30-day opening day roadmap free with it. A 60-page day-by-day plan that gets you ready before the season even starts. I do not know how long that bonus stays in the deal. But if you have been watching these videos and thinking this could be my season, that is the move. Link in the description below, QR code on screen. Make this the year. Number 11, pine needle oil. The compounds are alpha-pinene and beta-pinene, monoterpene hydrocarbons that give pine trees their characteristic smell. Same territorial comfort mechanism as cedar oil. Deer living in pine habitat treat pinene-rich air as normal and safe. Cotton balls with pine oil around your stand base lower the alertness level of approaching deer because the smell matches their habitat. On my North Florida Panhandle lease, that loblolly pine plantation in live oak hammock country north of Panama City where every trail runs through pine and the deer breathe terpenes all day, pine oil around the stand produced no measurable attraction but a noticeable reduction in deer spooking at close range. The deer that walked within 15 yards of my stand, roughly the distance from a pitcher's mound to home plate, did so more calmly when the pine oil was present. Calmer deer give you more time to draw a bow. That time is worth more than attraction. I learned this lesson the hard way on a property in the western Nebraska sandhills, that rolling grass and river bottom country along the middle loop where the closest pine is 3 miles away and every cedar draw is a deer magnet. I set up a stand in a cedar draw with no scent treatment and had a doe blow at me from 22 yards because she caught a trace of something she did not. 2 weeks later, I set pine oil cotton balls around the same stand. Same doe, I recognized her by the scar on her left ear, walked within 18 yards and never raised her head. The scent environment matched her expectation for that spot. She was in a cedar draw. She smelled cedar. Nothing triggered her alert system. That is what territorial comfort does. It removes the one variable that turns a close encounter into a blown opportunity. Number 12, mint oil. The compound is menthol, which I covered extensively in the Vicks Vapor Rub video on this channel. Menthol is a cover scent and a mild curiosity trigger. It masks human odor at ground level and produces a novel scent that deer pause to investigate. I do not rank mint oil as a standalone attractant because the investigation rate was lower than anise or ginger in my testing. Roughly 4 out of 10 deer pausing compared to 6 out of 10 for anise. Where mint oil excels is as a scent disruptor around your stand, not as a scent lure on a trail. If you watch the Vicks video, you already know the cotton ball ring method. Same principle, different delivery. Number 13, juniper berry oil. The compounds are alpha-pinene, limonene, and myrcene, a terpene blend that overlaps with both pine and cedar profiles but adds the citrus note of limonene. I covered the juniper berry ring in a previous video as a scent disruption method around the stand base. The limonene adds a novelty component that pure pine or cedar lacks, which may explain why the juniper ring produced slightly more close range. Encounters on my cameras than straight cedar or pine oil alone. 3 of 4 sits versus roughly 1 of 4 sits without the ring. The juniper ring is my current go-to for stand perimeter scent control. Crush a handful of berries, mix with fresh pine needles, scatter in a 15-yard ring, roughly the distance across a 2-car garage around your stand tree. 5 minutes of setup. 0 cost. Number 14, cinnamon. The compound is cinnamaldehyde, an aldehyde that produces the sharp, sweet spice smell. A teaspoon of ground cinnamon on a cotton rag tied to a branch, pure curiosity scent. No deer in North America has ever encountered cinnamon in the wild. The investigation response on my cameras was moderate, roughly 4 to 5 out of 10 deer pausing. The issue with cinnamon is that cinnamaldehyde evaporates fast in open air. A fresh application loses most of its scent output within 4 to 6 hours compared to 12 to 18 hours for anise oil on a cotton wick. If you sit an evening hunt only, cinnamon applied at noon is already fading by 5 p.m. I would not choose it over anise for an all-day sit. Number 15 is birch tar oil, and this is the one I promised. The primary compounds are betulin, betulinal, and methyl salicylate, phenolic compounds found in birch bark that produce a smoky, woody, slightly sweet scent. What caught my attention about birch tar oil is that methyl salicylate is the same compound produced by many deciduous tree barks when they are damaged or stressed. A tree with a fresh wound, a broken limb, a lightning scar, a buck rub releases methyl salicylate into the surrounding air. Deer encounter this compound thousands of times in their lives from natural bark damage. When you place birch tar oil near your stand, the scent reads as fresh bark damage, which is a signal deer associate with normal forest activity and in some cases with territorial marking from. Rubs. A buddy in North Florida tested birch tar oil on a rope hung between 2 trees at scrape height, roughly 4 to 5 feet, and reported that bucks approached and rubbed the rope on 3 occasions over 2 weeks. His interpretation is that the methyl salicylate mimicked the scent of a fresh rub and triggered a territorial response. My own testing was less dramatic but consistent. Birch tar oil around the stand base produced the calmest deer approaches of any scent I tested. Calmer than cedar, calmer than pine. The deer treated the area as naturally scented forest, not as a human hunting location. That territorial comfort response, where the deer lowers its guard because the scent environment matches its habitat expectation, is the most underrated application of natural scent in deer hunting. Attraction gets the attention, comfort gets the shot. Think about it this way. Every commercial scent product on the market is designed to make deer come to you. Attractants, curiosity scents, doe estrus, food-based lures, they all pull. But the moment the deer arrives at 20 yards, it is on high alert because it is investigating something unfamiliar. A deer on high alert is a deer that is scanning for threats, and you are the threat it is scanning for. Comfort scents do the opposite. They do not pull the deer to you. They keep the deer relaxed when it arrives on its own travel route through your area. A relaxed deer at 20 yards gives you 10 to 15 seconds of calm broadside before it decides to move on. An alert deer investigating a curiosity scent gives you 3 to 5 seconds of head-up, locked-on attention where any movement gets caught. If you are a rifle hunter, both windows work. If you are a bow hunter drawing 65 pounds at full extension, you need the calm 15 seconds, not the twitchy 5. The best setup on my properties is curiosity scent on a wick 30 yards upwind of the stand to slow the deer down on approach, combined with comfort scent on cotton balls around the stand base to keep the deer relaxed during the final 20 yards. The curiosity scent creates the pause. The comfort scent creates the shot window. 2 categories working together. If you know a compound that I missed, leave it below. Next time we are covering the 5 scents that deer avoid and why most hunters accidentally deploy them on every sit without realizing it. The chemistry works in both directions. The scents that make deer comfortable at 20 yards are the same class of compounds that make them bolt at 40 when you get the application wrong.